pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing, take a moment. Since our last meeting, we lost a resident, Artie Jones, good guy. And as we always remember our men and women in the armed forces at this moment. Thank you. Is there anyone here from Neighbors Landscaping?
They're on their way.
They're on their way?
Yeah.
They called you? Sharon, there's a couple of seats up here. All right, as soon as Neighbors gets here, I have some other folks here I want to talk about for a moment, but I'll get into the agenda at the beginning of it in hopes that Neighbors will come before I end. We have bills and claims before you, fiscal year 24-25, $267,358.50. We could approve the bills and claims.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. I have roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Yes.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is to approve the minutes that were taken at our last meeting on the 21st of January, 2024. 2025.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Guerrero, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee DeSalvo, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Yes. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, I'm going to do one more thing before we get into the public hearing in hopes that Neighbors will come soon. We had an audit done last week pertaining to our workman's compensation audit. They found everything to be in order, and in fact, they found a $220.35 in our favor, which will be applied to the credit in the future invoice. Thank the office staff for that. I've met with folks from the county Office of the Aging. We've actually been meeting for quite a while. Had some improvements that they wanted done in the kitchen to have the nutrition site here. And so that's in preparation to move the nutrition site from the church down the road here to the Senior Citizen Center. And I believe it'll pick up more folks that'll take advantage of that nice hot meal every day at noontime. So I'll keep you informed, but that's going to happen. We're all set. Everything that we had to have, we already had a lot. Handicap bathrooms. We have a sink, but they wanted a small sink also. We might have to make, it's up to the building department, we might have to make one of the bathrooms, what do they call it, a bathroom where you can bring your child in there and I guess change them. So that's not required at the moment, but it may. The next thing is I'm in communication with the county. They would like to bring a spring wellness series here.
It's a class for Holland Falls. Holland Falls is beautiful, rich in history, and geographically a little more remote. We have home delivery meals programs that we used to have dining site. I remember that dining site. Unfortunately, currently, we are only there to offer home delivery meals. That's going to change, as I just said. So there's going to be some programs here for caregiving, which we need. We have a lot of senior citizens. And I just saw Mike. Where's Mike? Hey, Mike, anyone with you?
Just me.
Okay, come on. And Jody and where's Fran? Where's Fran DeWitt? There she is. Okay. Come on up here, folks. Fran doesn't know why she's here.
Not sure.
Neither do I.
It's good, it's not bad.
Oh, it's good.
It's good. Come on over here, come here, come over here. Mike? Okay, so I just want to say something before I give these little awards out. It was only a few months ago, before the winter came, and I thought Main Street looked great. You had hanging baskets of geraniums up and down from one end to the other. You had baskets on the sidewalk, flower baskets on the sidewalk. You had trees on the sidewalk. A lot of mulch in Memorial Park. Mums down Memorial Park. God, it was such a pleasure to drive down Main Street. It was beautiful. But it was beautiful not because I came up with it, but because you guys did it. Jody? You guys did it. I saw you out there all the time, picking the dead ones, and then new ones would come. I know. So, Fran, you take care of a lot, signs, church, everything. Mike, and L&L is supposed to be here, but he had a babysit tonight. So, this goes for Jeremy also. You guys were always seeing me crossing the street. Stop. What do you need? What can we do? Can we do this? All the time. All the time. And most of that was not paid for. Most of it you volunteered to do. The pumpkins down Memorial Park. We're getting better, you know. Absolutely beautiful. I remember calling you up, or probably seeing you on Main Street. Can you do a float again on the 4th of July? You didn't think about it. You didn't turn to your helper, can we? He said yes. And so did Jeremy from L&L. You guys together probably had at least 3, if not 4 floats. That's what makes a parade. That's what makes a parade. So you guys are great. So for me to see, I had to put this piece of black material behind here. Things like this. Things used to be different. So Jody, in grateful recognition, this plaque is dedicated to you, Jody Downey, whose tireless efforts and unwavering commitment to beautifying our village have left a lasting legacy. Your selfless dedication, your hard work have brought joy and inspiration to our community. Thank you for making our village a more beautiful place for all. Ladies first. Jody and Ellie. I had to take this from the office to use. It's a mouse. In grateful recognition, this plaque is dedicated to Fran DeWitt, whose tireless efforts and unwavering commitment to beautifying our village have left a lasting legacy. Your selfless dedication and your hard work have brought joy and inspiration to our community. Thank you for making our village a more beautiful place for all. I was wondering if it was different, but it's not. It's about beautifying, so it has to be the same. This is in grateful recognition. This plaque is presented to Mike Rubino, whose tireless efforts and unwavering commitment to beautifying our village have left a lasting legacy. Your selfless dedication, your hard work have brought joy and inspiration to our community. Thank you for making our village a more beautiful place for all. Mary Jane, did you get it?
Oh,
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, a couple of things before we do the next thing on the agenda is a public hearing. VRI is running our water plant sewer plant now. They're doing a great job. They recently saw a pump that wasn't working right. It was like probably one of the originals, you couldn't even get parts for it anymore. They fixed it, they put a new pump in, and the monthly savings on electric is $1,000 a month. That's good stuff. I want to thank all that sent letters in. We're in for a grant with Greenway for the scenic Hudson Trail down the road behind the old Grand Union. It's beautiful. When that trail gets open, there'll be benches, interpretation. There's a tree down there that shouldn't be in the northeast, and all kinds of flowers and different things that are not supposed to be growing around here. So there'll be interpretation of signs overlooking the river. The first thing you're going to say is, wow. It's absolutely beautiful. So that's coming this year. Recently, as you all know, we received $4.5 million to go from New York Forward to go on Main Street. I have a list of all the addresses that are going to take advantage of it. I worked on that for 5 years. I almost gave up, but I said, let me do it one more year, and we got 4.5 million. A couple of months ago, we were awarded another $2 million to do restoration and reinforce the lower bog wall, the dam, the concrete dam. And I was hoping to get the phone call today, so I'm waiting on a phone call to announce another grant that I put in for, but as of tonight, I cannot mention it until I'm given the go-ahead by the state. These are Valentine cards that were made by kids, not kids, down at the high school. These are going to go to Castle Point before Valentine's Day, so I thank those young adults down at the school for that. The board members know that I pay attention maybe more than I should to the water leaving the water plant. But it tells me every day that whether we have a leak or not. And if we're between 480,000 and 520,000, we're okay. The system is tight. There might be a leak, but that's where it really should be. We recently found out that the school had a $100,000 gallon a day leak, a day. It took them a couple of days. We worked with them. It's fixed. And now it appears the new number for me to always look at is 420. And that includes Fort Montgomery. That includes water that goes to Fort Montgomery. So that's good. That's good. We're going to be replacing valves. We have 4. We're going to do 2 right away. Again, they're very old, and that might help clean up some of the brown water. It was supposed to start January 1st, a month ago, but it didn't. But we have a contractor, the low bidder, who's going to replace the fence at Roe Park. So you'll see that soon. There's been some preliminary discussions with West Point and the state of all the tributaries entering Highland Brook. We flood because of Highland Brook. My engineer says higher. I say 90% of the water that enters Highland Brook is not our water. It belongs to New York State or the federal government. So they have to participate in redirecting it, doing something. We're going to get a flood again. VRI, as I spoke about earlier, they have a contract with the water department and the sewer department. They reduced the contract with the water department by $20,000 because they said they would if they were the low bidder and received the sewer plant. So that's exactly what happened, and in December, we started paying $1,666 less. I'll save the rest for later. So let's get to do this. Next on the agenda, public hearing, if we could open it up at this time. If I could have a motion to open up the public hearing.
Continuation of the public hearing.
It's a continuation of the public hearing from the last meeting. Do I need a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so Jim DeSalvo,
So moved, to open the public hearing.
you want a second, Elise?
Yes, you should
Okay,
vote on it.
Pete, I heard Pete say something, so we'll let Pete do the second. So there's a public hearing and a continuation from the last. So
You just
and
need
we've
a
had,
vote. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you just call for a vote. So you officially opened.
are you going to call for a vote to open the thing?
Yeah.
Okay, could I had a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Okay now? Okay, just give me a second. I would ask if you haven't spoken before to come up, but if you have, and only if you have something new. We have a busy agenda. I would like to keep the 3-minute rule if we can. This board, for months now, has done its due diligence. We've had public hearings, some open, some new, a lot of comments, all recorded. County approval, local board approval, seeker is done. There's just been a lot of discussion here and outside. So we'll do public comment from anyone that we haven't heard from yet. Yes?
Good evening. I'm Eric Smith. I'm a village resident. I'm also chairperson of the Consolidated Planning Board for both the village and the town. I'm speaking for myself because everything I'm going to say here wasn't totally cleared by my board. But I will say the planning board has been unanimous in its support for changes to the zoning law, to our business zone in the village, and at least part of what's included in this law was at the direct recommendation of the planning board. So tomorrow I start my 25th year with the New York City Fire Department. It's a great place to work with great people providing vital services. And we have a saying there, and it's 2 things firefighters hate the most, is change and the way things are. So, seems kind of familiar here. We have a great place with great people here, and the people are not liking change or the way things are. Last meeting, we heard a lot from the ZBA chair. Jack spoke of his experience and concerns, so I'm gonna do the same. My mother is a consultant engineer, and she was bringing her kids to work before it was even a thing. I was in many planning board meetings, probably before I was a teenager. And some 37 years ago, she was on the master plan committee for the town of Phillipstown, and I was dragged along to those meetings as well. I'm starting my 23rd year as on the planning board, and I've been a chairperson for 17 years. A lot of concerns were brought up, and it's the board's job to be concerned and consider the consequence of those changes. I'll also argue the board must consider the consequences of not taking action. By not taking action, things will not stay the same. They haven't stayed the same. Some could argue this is a dying village. We're at a population down approximately 1,000 from its peak in 1970. That's a 20% drop. We have a water and a sewer system designed for a bigger village. The school's population is down from its peaks. Things are not staying the same. In 20 years, the percentage of non-owner occupied homes has increased 20%. We're basically at the 50% point right now. Jack has brought up that the 2,500 square feet per dwelling unit as law of the land. It's not law of the land. Our built environment was in place before zoning was enacted, in the late 60s. The fact is, our mixed-use buildings are nowhere close to 2,500. We have mixed-use buildings now as low as 660 in the village, and they have no parking associated with them. There's at least a dozen below 1,000 without parking. The fact is, half a dozen, sorry. The fact is, no mixed-use development has occurred complying with that criteria. It's amounted to a de facto moratorium on development in the village, in the business zone. And a good example is the site 2 lots north of Town Hall. A local developer who has done nice work on prior projects in the village proposed a mixed-use building on that vacant lot, something that would fit very nicely with the community character already there. It's a new building that would feature an elevator. Our current housing stock lacks accessibility for the disabled and the elderly. That project twice appeared before the ZBA and was denied. So when many say the law is designed for the AOG, I disagree. It's designed for everybody. Mixed-use buildings are smart planning. Our county's comprehensive plan actually prioritizes growth right here in our community. If we want a strong, thriving community, we need growth, smart growth, and that's what's being advocated for here. Beacon was mentioned, and yes, it's a city, but it's a small city of 13,000 people with a density less than Highland Falls. It's a good example of smart growth and development. If the fears take over of our community, the safest way to prevent that is to have a thriving community. If we continue on the road we're on, more and more properties will become non-owner occupied, and it's ripe for the taking. The group that many fear already owns property here. If Highland Falls has an appealing downtown and it's a place people want to visit, they'll also want to buy homes and live here. And that's what we all want. This community has let opportunities go before. I too was at the meeting in August, and I feel many people there who I've talked to are interested in seeing revitalization of our village. So, civilian professors are nothing new at West Point. I have one living next to me for more than 20 years. The fact is, civilian professors make a decent money and they're not going to be apartment dwellers. We have plenty of military personnel who take their housing money and drive over the mountain for new housing stock. As for the plans that go to the building department and something being missed, I'll just clarify how this is going to go. The building inspector's office is the initial contact for projects like this, but what's being proposed here will require site plan and special exception use. That means anytime one of these projects is proposed, it will go to the planning board. The planning board uses consultants, including an engineer and attorney. So those plans submitted will be looked at by the building inspector, 5 planning board members, their attorney, and an engineer. That's a lot of eyes on the plans. Our engineer starts his report initially with an analysis of compliance. We catch things right there. Last meeting, there was a big request for guardrails. My argument is the guardrails are already there. And here's what they are. Parking. The current code does not require residential parking spaces for a decent portion of the area. This proposed code will change that. Minimum height. The board put a height maximum of 48 feet. That will limit this development. And last, minimum apartment sizes are set in the proposed code, and a very smart caveat was placed in there. And it says that a maximum of 25% of those apartments can be efficiencies. And finally, when it comes to SECRA, in my opinion, this is not, 2,500 is not the current density. It's as arbitrary as the 325 was in the B zone. In our current stock of mixed-use buildings that don't have parking, we have a lot less than that 2,500. This law is very much in line with what the current buildings are, and a negative deck is a sound decision. My only recommendation going forward is for a better map. To me, there are places off Main Street do not belong in the B1 zone, and most everything going from the gate to Regina do. So we could look at that going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Back up. Anyone else?
Thank you. My name is Holly West, and I'm here to urge you to finalize the law to amend the zoning restrictions in our village to allow for the development buildings with more dwellings. While many don't consider me a Highland Falls native because I went to West Point, I've lived on West Point, I consider myself one. I moved to Highland Falls in 1983. My parents still live in the village, and my dad has been the chair or the treasurer of the 4th of July committee for many years. My brother, sister, and I all graduated from O'Neill, and all 4 of my kids graduated from O'Neill. I still call the vacant buildings on Main Street by the old business names like Dyroff's, Ben Franklin, Skeeter's, then Maria Bonita, Fireside. I remember the businesses of the past. Highland Falls Florist, Fashion Fabric, Rafferty's, Hilltop, Venice. I could go on just like many of you. Over the years, I've witnessed firsthand the stagnation of Main Street and the lack of meaningful improvements that could truly revitalize our community. Because of this stagnation, my husband and I are opening Westies on Main Street. We're hoping that this will be the start of something big, but it will not happen without the commitment and vision of local government. As a West Point graduate and parent of West Point graduates, I often hear from fellow alumni and parents that they would love to stay in Highland Falls when visiting, but the lack of accommodations and dining options lead them to stay elsewhere. For years, I've tried to defend my hometown, but with the revitalization of other local towns and villages, it's proving to be more difficult. This is an untapped opportunity for our village to create a thriving, welcoming atmosphere for visitors while also providing amenities that can serve the needs of our own residents. With West Point as a key neighbor, the potential for tourism and an influx of visitors as a college town is considerable, yet we are not maximizing it. While we have a charming village, we're missing opportunities for growth that other neighboring towns such as Cornwall, Cold Spring, Chester, Warwick, Nyack, and Beacon, many others, have capitalized on by updating zoning laws to encourage development. When I was in high school and an O'Neill Raider, Cornwall was a big rival of all of our sports teams. I can honestly say that they are kicking our butts right now. They have an active Chamber of Commerce and a comprehensive plan that lays out a vision for the community. They've enticed Hilton Hotels to put in a boutique hotel downtown that will start construction in March. Town Supervisor Josh Wojciechowski described the project. Quote, "Downtown revitalization has been one of my focuses in Cornwall since taking office in 2022 as town supervisor. The hotel aligns with the town zoning codes and comprehensive plan. Revitalizing the Berniker Dodge dealership into a boutique hotel operated by Hilton is an example of local government working with the private sector to encourage investment into our downtown areas. Using private investments, brownfield tax incentives, and ESD grants, this project is becoming a reality, and once fully constructed will provide substantial tax revenues for the municipality and school district jobs for local residents, and more foot traffic for area businesses." End quote. Last week, my husband and I were at the Tin Barn Brewery in Chester that opened in August of 2020. We met one of the village council members who was so proud of his work on that village council for bringing in new businesses into the community. This business, Tin Barn, was started by a dad and his daughter. The owner explained when it was opened, "We wanted to be within reach of New York City, but for the brewery to be an escape for people to come to spend the day. We encourage them to not only come to our brewery, but to go to others in Chester and Warwick too. Having more customers will benefit all of us." End quote. I encourage all of you to subscribe to the Hudson Valley Magazine if you don't already. In this past February edition, they had a section on small town charm. I was immediately drawn to this section, as those of us who are from Highland Falls like to refer to us as Small Town USA. While they listed 6 must-see main streets, Highland Falls was not one of them. Saugerties, Cornwall, and Nyack were 3 of those 6. Highland Falls is at a crossroads where we have a potential to enhance our village and make it a more attractive destination for both residents and visitors. By allowing more multi-dwelling buildings with retail space, we could stimulate the local economy, create new jobs, and generate increased tax revenue to benefit our public services and infrastructure. Just to note, the hotel in Cornwall is quoted at providing $1 million of revenue for the village. Right now, that building that sits empty in Cornwall is only providing $12,000. By amending zoning restrictions and encouraging more diverse development, we can create a vibrant, thriving village with more places to live, work, and enjoy. Let's not miss this chance to bring Highland Falls into a new era of growth and prosperity. I urge you, as board members, like Cornwall, to make this your priority, revitalizing Main Street. We have an opportunity that I'm afraid will be obsolete if we fall too far behind. Investors are going to want to go to thriving main streets and not dying ones. Thank you for your consideration of this important matter.
So I just want to point out, it comes off of, Holly, something you said a couple minutes ago. I stumbled on this on Facebook. You go on Facebook and pull up the Hudson Valley, just the Hudson Valley. Someone asked, a mother asked, I'm bringing my son to West Point to have his, I'm not sure what they called it, his, going to visit West Point, see if he likes it, all that good stuff. So she wanted to know could anyone recommend places to go? I mean, I didn't need this. I didn't need what I'm going to tell you right now, because I already know it. I don't disagree with what you're saying. Main Street looks terrible. There's different reasons, and we're going to fix it now. We're going to fix it. But I will tell you, if you pull up the Hudson Valley, scroll down to where this mom asked, where can I go? There's 104, this was this morning, there was 148 comments. That's a lot of comments on Facebook. I don't even get that many. 148, not one, and these were all cadet parents who have maybe a kid already graduated, maybe they're still here. Not one out of 148 mentioned Highland Falls. Everywhere else. That's 148 comments. That 148 comments, there's a wife or a husband with that person. Then there's two kids, the one that's at West Point, not a kid. Young man or young woman that's at West Point, and maybe another a sibling. There's 4 people. That's over 500. That's easy 600 people that go somewhere else. Put 600 people on Main Street. I think the businesses would love that. Just 600. That's on Facebook. You can pull it up. Hudson Valley. Not one mentioned Highland Falls. They didn't mention a bakery. They didn't mention Dunkin' Donuts. They didn't mention anything. That was terrible. Okay, you want to speak?
I'm Bonnie Snow. I live in Highland Falls. Before I say what I'm going to say, Holly, you had some good ideas, wherever you are.
Bonnie,
Oh, yeah,
I can't, we gotta.
Gotta do that. The commercial problem is not, you're forgetting a factor. Something nice goes in. I remember there was a really nice restaurant, and people I visited it, I frequented it with my husband. A lot of people just didn't go that live in the village. They don't know why. They needed people from the higher end and the lower end, and they didn't come. So that's part of it. The rents nowadays are high, and people in Highland Falls don't always frequent these places. Okay, I'm going to move on. The reason I'm here, and I thank you for calling on me because you know what I'm going to say.
It has to be on the topic.
What? The restaurants?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Do you know why women wear tight clothes? It's not just to look sexy, it's so they don't eat. Women don't, so they don't eat. So I'm asking you to put a girdle on the budget for Highland Falls.
Okay, that's not now.
That's not now?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's later? Okay. I'm glad you let me say it.
They still sell girdles?
What?
They still sell girdles?
If you look hard, you can find it.
No, I'm not gonna look hard. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Ed Dunn. I live in Highland Falls, have all my life. I've seen a lot of things come, a lot of things go, but basically, Highland Falls used to be a hustling, bustling community. It no longer is. Right now, we're looking at a village with blight. We have buildings that are torn down. We have proposals for 2 hotels, which have gone through the planning boards. Nothing has happened. We have another proposal for a restaurant/bar at a church. Nothing has happened. All right, so now we have investors vis-a-vis AOG. Now they've bought a lot of property, but as yet no plans have come forth. So that brings us to zoning, which we've been working on now since I believe around 2019, when we started with the master plan for the village. And nothing has reached fruition yet. So I believe that the plan that was put forth by the board is a good plan. Like my constituent here, Eric said, square footage on a piece of property is an arbitrary number. In order to develop an apartment size of about 600 square feet, you're going to start out with about 1,250 square feet of property. Because if you deduct the amount of land you lose for your rear yard setback, that brings your property, your size of your postage stamp down. So if you have a 1,250 square foot piece of property, you're only going to end up with 725 square feet of buildable space. And of that, you have to have stairwells going up and down, which is going to give you approximately a 600 square foot apartment. Now basically, the only way this works is if you have multiple pieces of land, like AOG is buying. That's the only way where you're going to make it work. And when you put the size capacity in there for your efficiency apartment, and only allowing 50% of the apartments to be, or 25% of the apartments to be efficiency, that in effect puts a clamp on the amount of density that you can have. So you have a 1-bedroom apartment at 725 square feet. If you're really worried about density, you can put a clamp on that and make that 25% also, which is going to give your higher end apartments 50% of the property. Also, which comes into play is parking. Now, parking is an important objective that you're trying to reach with this. A parking space takes up about what, 180 square feet? Right? About 180 square feet. So if you have 100 parking spaces, that's a lot of square footage that you're eating up. And you're not going to have apartments on a parking space unless you build over a parking garage. There's also snow storage, which comes into effect. There's also garbage storage, which comes into effect. Otherwise, you end up like you do if you go down to the municipal parking lot in back of the town hall, where the one apartment building puts all their garbage out, the crap is all over the ground because they don't have any storage. You got filing cabinets sitting in a vacant lot and crap all over the place. All right, now I digress. Now, the other thing that comes up is students in school. School has the capability of handling much more students than are in it now. When I graduated from high school in 1967, we had more kids graduate than graduate now. All right, and we had a smaller school. We all went to that school up on Mountain Avenue. And it didn't cost $39,995 per student to educate them. So this is what we're also paying in this village, and a lot of people probably don't even realize it, because if you live in an apartment, you don't know about that. But we, as landowners and building owners, have to pay all the school tax, all right? So now we come to the other thing, which is the zoning map. The 2010 zoning map is incorrect. You're accepting that as the Bible for your zoning map, and it's incorrect. There's a lot of properties on there that are wrong. You've got to square that away before you can accept that. You know that. All right, and the other thing, and we'll bring it up again, Jimmy Titolo brought it up at the last meeting. You still have 70-foot building height for a senior building that goes in an R5 property. What in the hell is that still in there for? That should not be there. But I do support the new zoning law. Other comments are totally mine.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, neighbors. My name is Chris Hardy, and I'm here tonight both as a concerned resident and as the president of the Town of Highlands Baseball League. I'm also a coach for a recreational basketball program, so I see firsthand how much our community values programs for our kids. Tonight I want to speak in support of the proposed zoning changes that will help revitalize Main Street and create a stronger future for our town. As someone involved in youth sports, I know how important it is to invest in our community's future, not just in our kids, but in the places where families live, shop, and spend time together. Right now, Main Street isn't reaching its full potential, and these zoning changes are a key step forward to making it a place where businesses can thrive, families can enjoy, and our town can grow responsibly. I understand that change can bring some concerns, but 4 out of 5 trustees have already voted in favor of these updates because they recognize that they can't afford to let Main Street stay stagnant. The county has reviewed the proposal with no objections. The state environmental review found no issues. Now it's time to take the final step. A revitalized Main Street means more local jobs, more foot traffic for our businesses, and a stronger tax base to support essential services, including parks and recreational programs for our kids. This isn't just about development, it's about ensuring that our town remains a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I urge the board to move forward, close the public hearing, and approve these changes. Let's give our community the opportunity it deserves to grow, succeed, and build a stronger future for all of us and all of our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else that hasn't spoken in previous public hearings? I'll come to you. Is there anyone else? All right, Jack? My 3-minute time slot went out the window.
I don't have much. I want to,
It's okay.
the awardees, I want to second that. I just want to give a quick story. In May, I went to a funeral for a classmate, and at the reception afterwards, my class president spoke to me unsolicited. He said, "Hey, I just drove up from Virginia yesterday, and the village really looks beautiful."
It was then.
It was then.
It was then.
I never in we should keep 2,500. At the last meeting, I said, well, what's wrong with 1,250? I said, AOG's been asking for 850, and then it became 750. And then on the village website this afternoon, it was back to 0 in B3. So what are we voting on? Is it the 750 that's in?
At the moment, and I say moment is the key word, is 750.
All right.
Well, that's where it's at the moment.
All right. Well, again, I've heard all of the pros and for it, and I'll just quickly comment that hotel in Cornwall has about 30 some odd rooms, not over 100 that is being proposed here. But the big thing is that we keep hearing all this investment is going to make this place wonderful again. But what you're missing is what I've been saying all along, and nobody can really contradict it, is that our taxes will go up if it's all this growth is apartments. And that's what we're proposing here, apartments, apartments, apartments. Taxes, if you get all these people in here, taxes will go up. And as I said, the rule of thumb is for every $1 of tax revenue they bring in, it's going to cost us, the voters, the taxpayers, $1.20. I was corrected by on the street saying it's going to be $1.30. Our taxes will go up. The fact that the school has got capacity doesn't mean that school taxes won't go up. It doesn't mean that the town taxes won't go up as well. It's going to cost us. Now, I took that 750 number that's in the resolution now, and I guess that's what we're voting on.
At the moment.
Yeah.
I need to stress that.
Okay, I hope so.
Sorry.
I hope it doesn't go down. And again, I have every confidence in the building inspector and the planning board, it's just that things can slip through the crack. But take, for instance, the property that is south of Walgreens down to the West Point Motel owned by Mr. Nicosi. That's 3.4 acres. At 750, you could put 197 apartments in there under that part of the code. Now, hopefully the guardrails will catch that. But I want you to think about this. You can have this whole process of revitalization is not about putting in businesses, but it's about putting in apartments. It's flipping the business model for the whole village. It's apartments, apartments, apartments. And is that what we want, or do we want some nice buildings? We want nice buildings in there. We want it to look nice, but we don't want to be flooded with apartments that are going to make our taxes go up. So it's up to all of you to come up with the right decision on this, but remember, the people who pay the taxes are the voters. You got to think about that too. You know, it's nice to say we're going to make it all beautiful, but if we do it with apartments, we're going to have a lot of vacant spaces on the first floor and a lot more people in here, and that's going to cost us a lot of money. So that's my...
Thank you.
Good evening. Michael Joyce, proud member of the Village of Highland Falls. I was a low-end, but my two sons were born here, raised here, and to school there. So I think I have a voice in this room. It sounds like the ducks aren't in a row. 2,500, 0, right now it's 750. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there 2,500 voters in the village of Highland Falls? This is a great turnout. I think this is the best turnout I've seen in all these discussions so far, which is fantastic. But what I think what should happen, so that the board can truly vote with their hearts and do due diligence with democracy, is send flyers out to each household in the village, which doesn't take a lot of effort, with a box, take A, B, or C, so that you guys can vote with your hearts to what the people of the village of Highland Falls truly want. Now, I'm all for development. Highland Falls needs development. But for so long, people have felt they're being neglected, not listened to, and I think for such a very forward, crucial step for the village, this would be a fantastic step for the board to do, to encompass all the voters of Highland Falls. Thank you.
Okay.
Forgive me for this stupid question, but is there enough water for a lot of development? Because we almost didn't have enough this summer.
There is. Okay, let me, I usually don't do this, and a couple board members tonight will tell me I shouldn't have. We're not sending out a flyer to every household. That's why the room is packed. They know it, you know it, they all know it. There's a lot of new people here tonight. We have to act. This board has to act, and have to act tonight. Yeah, we were at 2,500. Whether that was a mistake or not, I don't know. Then we went to, I don't know, did we go to 1,250? And then we're down to another number. That's because we were, the longer we kept these public hearings open, the more numbers were floated around, and people started to change their mind. Well, tonight everyone's gonna vote, and we're all gonna see where it lies. Delaying the vote only puts us at a disadvantage. We're at a disadvantage now. To go another, I'm talking, to go another 2 weeks, to go another 4 weeks, to keep the public hearing open, for me, I say no. If they want to override me, they have that power. If we don't move now, we're gonna lose momentum. I happen to know that there's momentum out there for development.
Question.
I'm not,
for
wait
me,
till I get
actually,
done.
before
Wait till I
the
get done.
public
If
continues
we
to
choose
talk.
not to go ahead,
Yeah.
we're gonna get stuck while others advance, like Cornwall, like Chester, like Sugarloaf. My God, why can't we be them?
If we change the number tonight, do we start all over again?
No. Should we fail to act, our village will miss out on vital economic growth. This is our shot. Everything's lined up. $4.5 million for Main Street. I worked 5 years to get it. I don't care if I had to work 10 years. We have investors. Things started to happen on Main Street that changed ownership. Rick Manicosi, I don't know about Rick Manicosi. I don't think we can afford to have all, Jack, I'm gonna say this to you, but to everyone. The presentation I saw from Rick Manicosi, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apartments. I don't know if that's gonna go, okay? But that was his presentation. He hasn't done anything yet up here, you know, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with
Vote
it.
for this tonight the way it is right here.
Well, without action, progress will stop. Without action tonight, progress is gonna stop. Is that what we want?
It's a public hearing, I think everybody's
Okay.
raising their hands, they
Okay.
need to speak,
No, excuse me.
yes.
Thank you. So, let's see, what I think there's a couple more people, and then, we'll see where it goes. Annie. Oh, you're next.
Annie Scott, Fort Montgomery. This process has been going on for over 2 years.
Yeah.
It's an atrocity.
Tonight's the night.
The village is dying. If anyone behind me can't see that, I've been here 43 plus years. I've never seen anything so horrible. We have two major New York State, West Point and Bear Mountain. We are beautifully nestled between the hugest attractions. Why we can't get out of our own way is beyond me. But tonight, you need to make a decision. It has been long enough. We have enough water. The school, if we keep waiting until the what if, oh my God, nothing will ever change. This is the time for change, please. And I'd also ask tonight, and I'm speaking to you, Ms. Guerra, and I will speak to every board member.
Yes.
Please allow people to speak without speaking over them, including your board members. And board members, please allow the public to speak without your personal feelings being put into it. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Sharon, do you want to?
Yeah, that's it.
You can sit there if you want.
Okay, Sharon, that's it.
We can
Thank
hear
you. I wanna know what you're proposing tonight, does that include the area around Pelwood Lake? Is that going to allow for the buildings to go up to 48 feet? in
It
height?
says what zone?
No, that's gonna be residential, non-conforming.
It's residential.
Very
It doesn't affect Elwood Lake from Walker Road to Bellwood at all.
Okay, very good. Secondly, you mentioned about the water coming down, it's state and federal, and that they need to do something about it. You know, I'm riding by Mountain Avenue all the time, and I'm not seeing any water still in our stream coming down. Again, I'm gonna stress, what is going on with that? I have never, I've
There is
lived here
now.
all of my life,
Yeah.
and that has never been dry.
It was dry. It was dry. There is
I've
now.
never seen it dry, up until like a year and a half ago. It started getting lower and lower, now it's just flat out dry. So I'd like to know what's going on with that. I think that's a question that needs to be answered. And what else? We all want Highland Falls to prosper. We all want to see businesses come in, but like Jack said, we don't want hundreds and hundreds of apartments that aren't gonna do anything but raise our taxes, those of us who are homeowners. So, you know, those of us that are homeowners are struggling now. So, and I know that you know this. I know you know who they are that are struggling. I know you know those that have apartments buildings and are renting them out to people that, you know, it's supposed to be a 1 or 2 family or 4 family home, and there's 12 people living in them. I know that you know who these people are. I know that some come in here and they stand up to speak. So I'm just saying, for those of us who are struggling to hold on to our family homes and still make Highland Falls continue to be our home, I suggest that, you know, you concentrate on getting more businesses in here. My boy Trump, that's right, I'm a Trump supporter, amen. This man's putting tariffs on people. He's putting tariffs on people to bring businesses into Highland Falls. He's lowering taxes on other people, the businesses, to get them to come back into the United States. And why can't Highland Falls do that? Why can't we have some kind of incentive for the businesses to move in here? And not all advocate for these hundreds of apartments coming in here that are gonna do nothing but empty our pockets. How people can't see that, I don't know. So,
Thank you,
just
Shane.
please consider that.
Thank you, Shane. Is there anyone else? Okay.
My name is Michael Leahy, sir. How does it go from 2,500 to 1,200, from 1,250 to 0, back to 750? Last meeting, Jim said that we're just gonna start over. Everybody said they were gonna start over. What was done to come up with 750 square feet? You keep saying we need to get this done, we need to get this done. How long have they owned that property? They said they wouldn't do it at the time because, you said this at the board meeting, they shouldn't do it at the time because it wasn't cost effective because of COVID. So
You mean the
so
building?
now the town has to rush,
You mean the building up here?
yeah,
Where the gravel lot is?
yeah, or,
Well, that's what he blamed it on, COVID, yeah.
okay, so now we're jumping over hoops to make sure they get it done now that they want it in time for what? I mean, what was done?
What number, can you tell me what number you're in favor?
Sir, I don't know, is there like an equation to where you guys are going, or are you just throwing numbers out
No.
there and hoping it pleases somebody?
No. No. The longer the public hearings stayed open, and some were closed and some reopened, and the more we talked to the planning board and the zoning board and building department, amongst ourselves, people we know, our engineer who knows a lot about this, I think that's some,
Mr.
Very good
DiMaffeo,
reasons
you
why.
gotta answer honestly.
All right, so
It's an
that's why
honest
some-
question,
that's why
it
some-
deserves an
that's why
honest answer. The answer is, Annie, please, the
Wait a
answer
minute, wait a
is,
minute.
yes,
I-
we are
let me
picking
say
that
this.
number for
I
the
think the numbers were
development.
changing because
Yes.
of all of that. I've heard different numbers from Melanie. I've heard, the only one I can tell you that's been
I'm
consistent
saying,
is
is there
this guy right
an
here.
equation? Is there an equation per, to get these numbers that you guys are coming up with? It seems as if you're taking a number, throwing it up on the wall to see if it sticks. And now, obviously, you're getting more support than you've ever seen. This is the meetings you should be telling whoever you should get shuttle buses to the businesses that have been in this town for how long? Shouldn't the shuttle buses, shouldn't there be some kind of benefit to that? You
I'm
keep
sorry,
saying
what do
the
you want me to do?
businesses in this town weren't mentioned in some Facebook posts.
What do you want me to do with that?
Well, you've been the mayor,
What do you want
that
me to
is a
do with the
reflection on
shuttle?
yourself, but my question was, is there an equation you guys are going to get these numbers?
So, Mr. Lane.
Since you have such a big crowd tonight, there should be other topics instead of trying to push your agenda. Or
Push
push
my
somebody else's agenda when they took the back seat at the time when they were gonna build. They weren't so concerned about the jobs they were gonna give and apartments they were gonna give to residents at that time. Now it's a high concern.
So,
It just seems a little weird. Last time,
so, Mr. Lane, if you want, I can give you my reason, if you wish, or Dr. Lane.
I would like them.
Yeah, so, we were previously at the 1250, which is ridiculous. The lots on Main Street are too small for the, 2,500. So, doing 1250 doubles what was allowed. All right, so we're doubling that. And that doesn't mean, in the future, when we see people come in and start to build in good faith, that we can't revisit this and maybe lower it. But I think doubling what was allowed now gives plenty of opportunity for people to come in. Now, a quick example would be Shades Park and the 2 buildings that they bought next to it. I was told that that's a half an acre of land. Half an acre of land, they needed 21 units. That's what they said upstairs, so it would be a viable project. Well, at 1,000, they would get to 21, but they didn't want that. They wanted 650. So why aren't you telling me the truth? At 1,250, they were going to get 17 units. I don't think 4 units would break any developer, especially if they want to see businesses on Main Street. Now, we've heard a lot about the businesses on Main Street, and I think we should be focusing on that. There were some really good ideas here tonight, but residential in the business district is called business district for a reason, not residential. And that's just my opinion, sir.
Alina Olivia, village resident. I do just want to touch on that Mike had said, is there an actual formula that you guys are using for this information? I had asked that question at the, I forget what meeting it was, probably almost a year ago. That exact question. Is there an actual formula that we are plugging data into to actually come out with proper calculations for this type of thing? And I was not answered then either. So I really just want to ask, can you please clarify the 0 and the 750? Because 2 weeks ago you had put this out here that the 0 is what you were going to vote on. And today it's 750. But last week, 2 weeks ago, when I had asked about the 0, you had said that if we were changing that number, that this process would have to start over. So what are you actually voting on?
Yes.
Yeah, the public hearing was, but the board determined to keep the public hearing open. The only thing that was changed was the density.
Now, the process of it going up to the county and getting approved and coming back, that's what you said would have to be redone if you changed any of the numbers.
All right. Can I answer it? After Jack spoke last week and everything, I saw the public was more interested in not having the 0 number. And so we decided we were going to go back in the other direction so that, because the general public doesn't understand, like you just said, about the square footage, because it's a complicated thing. So I've been talking to guys that are engineers, guys that are developers, and stuff like that, to try to get the information from them, and guys like Rick, right there, Eric Smith, and guys that know that stuff. And they tell me that they tell me that in order to make it a viable investment, 850 is okay for AOG because they're nonprofit, and they make a small amount of money and they're reinvesting it in the Highland Falls and things like that. But to make it a profitable attraction for other developers from, say, New York City or Beacon or someplace, Peekskill, whoever developing in these other towns, you have to get down to about 625, 650. That way they make a profit. And if we don't go down to that, because in Beacon they did go down to that square footage. If we don't go down to that, they prefer to keep going to the towns that do make it profitable. Why come here if there's not going to be, it's going to be a long-range profit? So that's why we play with the numbers, and that's why we've been back and forth with it. And tonight we hope we're going to settle it with a logical answer for you.
So is it 0 or 750?
I know, it's all over the place. 2,500 at one time.
Yeah.
It was crazy,
I think the question is for a lease, though.
Nobody was coming here doing that. So I think you'll get your answer by the end of the night.
Did you want to say?
I do think the answer needs to be delivered prior to you voting on it. I mean,
Yeah.
Alina's question is, if you're gonna change the number,
She's your
do
interpreter.
you have to go back to Orange
Anyone
County?
would understand.
she's understanding my question.
Yes,
so
I
do you
understand.
have an answer then?
They do too, they're just not answering.
The question was not answered.
If we're changing the number tonight, does it have to start all over again, like Mr. Hoon said at the last village board meeting? She said, if you change the number from 0 to whatever number, you gotta go back to Orange County, you gotta have another public hearing, and then close the public hearing, and then you can vote on the law. Is that the case?
Because it was such a
No.
drastic change.
You're making it more restrictive, Mr. Mayor. You don't have to go back to.
I know.
So is the answer yes or no?
The thing is, they approved 0.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they approve 1,000 or 500?
They didn't approve it, they made it local determination.
That's right.
There's no village that I know of in Orange County that has a 0 density.
Well, we're past that.
No, I'm just saying,
Time out, point of order, can we just get through the public hearing part, and then we can discuss as a board in the public hearing?
She has a question. The
I know,
question
but
needs
it's
to be
public
answered.
hearing. It's a
Yeah.
public
It's the
hearing.
same question.
We're gonna answer you, my
There are
friend,
now-
but
The
it's a
same
public
question has been
hearing.
asked
It's
twice.
not an exchange,
If
we
you're
wanna hear
asking
from
for
you
the public
first.
to speak on an issue, we kind of need to know what we're talking about, no?
Correct. So what is the answer? There's like no answer. I want to know the answer. Correct.
Weren't you in on the choice?
No, this is a surprise to me. Actually, all of this is a surprise to me. I thought we were voting on 0. So all of a sudden it changed to 750.
I sent an email out.
No,
last month.
he sent a straw poll, but nobody said
Can we stick to
750.
the plan?
So,
Everyone
yeah,
answered.
no, you're making
Make
it
a thing and
up.
let's do the
You're
public
making
hearing.
it up.
Excuse me,
You're
our
making
time
it
is
up.
valuable. If you don't
So
know
is
how
ours.
to vote,
And you're not asking for others to speak. You just don't want to hear
Go
from
ahead,
me.
sir.
So this is
You're
not
gonna
how
have to
this
talk over
works.
her.
So
You've
no,
got
you
no
need to sit
choice.
down.
Seriously,
Sit down and
go.
be quiet.
You're gonna have to talk over her.
I just want, by the way, thank you for the mics, Mr. IT man.
Yeah, I
First
can-
time I've heard them working, it's wonderful, especially being half deaf myself. The school issue, I don't know if you have a formula, I've heard people talk that there's plenty of capacity. I don't personally believe that. I don't know if you've checked with the school on what the capacity is. When I graduated, I've heard people up here talking that the school had lots more capacity, had much larger class sizes. When I graduated, it did. I looked at my cousin's yearbook, it did. I looked at my yearbook. But you have to bear in mind, education philosophy changes. When I went to school, the class sizes were 30 to 35 students. Now the recommended class size is 18 students. So you can stretch the capacity, you can overload it and impact the quality of your education, or you can check what is the actual capacity of your school system. I don't believe you've done that. I think that it would behoove the board to ask the school system, what is the capacity of the present infrastructure, and what would it take if it went over the optimal size of 18 to 18 students?
Thank you. Aaron?
Erin Helly, I'm a consultant to AOG's Hudson Valley program. And I just wanted to bring up a couple numbers because Mr. Ramis brought up our project specifically. So, no secret, AOG owns the park building, Shades, and the 2 buildings behind it. It's a half of an acre lot. Currently, there are 14 apartments there. At the 1250, like Mr. Ramis said, we could build 17 apartments. Adding 3 apartments doesn't really make a lot of sense for, to knock something down just to build it up again. Not just because it doesn't change a lot, but because there is no money to be made at that number. The number that we have said for as long as I've been here, which has been over a year, has always been 850. And that's because that gives 23 apartments. So that's 9 additional apartments. We're not talking about hundreds or even dozens. We're talking about 9 additional apartments. That's what would make that particular project viable. Now, even though AOG is profit, AOG still does need to bring in revenue. No organization is going to build something that's going to lose money every single month. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everyone understands that. We're not looking to make a profit, but the project needs to be in the black. We can't be losing money on taxes and insurance every month because at some point, we're not even going to be able to maintain the building. So that 750 square feet, a lot of people have been asking about these numbers. The restrictions that this board has spent a lot of time putting in place, parking, snow storage, all of that, actually makes a lot of the square foot requirement somewhat negligible in the sense that even if we are at 0, we could theoretically, what a lot of people like to say is build an infinite number of apartments. That's not true because we can only build 3 stories and we have to have parking. So even though 750 would allow us to build 28 apartments, when you take it to an architect to build a plan, with all of those restrictions in place, we can only build 23 apartments. That's all that there is there. So the square foot conversation, the formula, it has been considered. I know that's not been answered very well, but the other considerations and those checks in place actually make it more restrictive than that square footage. So we've talked so much about hundreds and thousands of apartments, when in the village alone, when we looked at this number, we're talking about 300 total apartments. That's not even new apartments. That's 300 total in the B1 district. So if you look at each of those apartments being assessed at $200,000, that's $60 million in rateable properties. At a 4% tax rate, that's $2.4 million in tax revenue for the village. That's what's going to allow taxes to come down. Water has been looked at, power has been looked at. Many experts, many consultants have opined about that. But this is going to bring in, if just these apartments are built, which all of them won't be built, that's $2.4 million in tax revenue. Thank you.
So Aaron, you said 650 is your parking lot?
850. AOG's always been at 850.
850, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of the other developers have said 625 because that's their threshold to make a true profit. And so when I had a meeting with a couple of the trustees recently, and they said we're going to vote for 850. And my rebuttal to that was, do you only want AOG to develop? AOG does not want that. We want other people to come in here and develop because that's what's good for our portfolio. But if you keep it at 850, that's probably what you're going to see is AOG's they're the only ones who are going to have the leeway to build.
No, I got it. No, 850 is 25, but those are just.
But regardless of the number, once you look at all the restrictions on that corner, 23 is the max that we can get.
So 23, like 900 would give you that. You know, I'm just throwing it out there. And that's why I was kind of upset in the past when they said 20, when I was told 21, you know what I mean? And just doing the simple math, well, 21, 1,000 would have got you it if you truly have a half an acre of land. You know what I mean? So now you're saying you need 23, then I can do the math. But when people don't tell me the truth, I'm just, no, not you. When somebody didn't tell me the truth, and they said they needed 21, well, if I do the simple math, that's how I can come up with, that's how I arrive at my numbers, all right? You know what I mean? And look, I work for developers. I do development, and if anybody really wants to see a nice project, take a ride out to Warwick, 13 Forester Avenue. We just did a project down there that has all commercial on the bottom with residential on the top, and we did one across the street as well. And it's like called Rent Cafe. Pretty cool. But great ideas, absolutely. I am all for business growth. It just scares me with the residential. That's, you know.
I do want to say one thing on that too, Mr. Rannis. A lot of the business owners will tell you that the apartment revenue is what keeps them floating, especially through the summer and when it's really quiet. So I'm not sure that a lot of businesses can survive this is a very cyclic environment.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah. Is there anyone else after this? Okay, Jim.
Patrick Flynn, I don't think anybody would argue that economic development is a necessity. It's been talked about for 20, 30, 40 years. Little's been done. That's without question. I see that the problem is that we are being reactive rather than proactive. I think Mr. Gennaro brought up a lot of great points. And I think one of the things people were glossing over is the cost, is the fact that facts, $1 costs $1.20. That's what I would have liked to see more in a presentation, especially when it was stated here that you were going to start over. But all we did was write up a new sheet, change the number, and that's starting over. I would have rather heard from the 3 gentlemen from the Planning and Zoning Board that had serious opinions about it, either way, so that the village could make a decision. And then when you automatically say, we can't send anything out, we got to make a decision tonight, we are rushing it. Would I like to make it tonight? I would have liked to make it 10 years ago. Moving forward, we have to be proactive. We cannot be reactive. We have got to work with AOG and any other investor that wants to come in and have this set up prior to, so there isn't a massive argument at a village board meeting. The presentation is poor, and people are throwing out a lot of personal, if we don't get this, it's not, no one's going to be able to come in. I disagree. I don't think investors were sought after for a long time. And no, our Main Street is not an attractive place to come to, an attractive place to grow. But the 2 things that I would question are, one, as Mr. Gennaro said, the cost of apartments and the fact that we need all these apartments on Main Street. Some people say it's happening all over, but yet there's no concrete information. Someone has notes here, someone has notes there. There's no real presentation to the public. And I think that if the public, now we talked about the fact there's so many people in the room. Besides myself, 9 people spoke. That's it. That does not represent the village. 9 people. I would like to get more feedback from the village, but I agree. We've got to move forward. We've got to move forward with what we have. But I think that a better job has to be done working with investors so that there is no question when it comes to the village board meeting that we're moving ahead. There should not be such a thing if it's what's right for the village. If it's what's right for the village, there should be 3 people against it, and overwhelming, yes, we need to have it. That's not happening. And I don't think the villagers have a lot of the necessary information to make that decision.
I'm going to make a statement to you. I guess it's a question. Have we not worked over and over and over and over and over? Thank you very much.
Can I just say one thing on that?
Well, real quick.
I just think that you need to emphasize that to them, how much due diligence you guys have done and how you listen to the experts, because I know that, but I don't know that everyone else knows.
Well, I can tell them I live and breathe it, but they wouldn't, that doesn't mean anything. But it's the truth. I know he has. I know he has. I know he has. How do I know? Because they come to me.
I think they're just looking for some confidence in that answer.
Yeah. There's no questions back. Okay, Jimmy?
Okay, Jim Gigolo, Highland Falls. Mr. Mayor, this exercise has been going on for 24 months. There's been discussion after discussion after discussion. There's been professionals here, suggestions, everything.
The best advice we get, as far as I'm concerned, is the planning board and the zoning board.
Exactly.
Because they're experts. I'm not.
And it's unfortunate that there's so many people here tonight, and there's been times when there's 4 people in this audience. 4 of you voted for zero, a couple months ago. 0 square foot per unit. Because, as the chairman of the planning board and Mr. Dunn has said, and myself, that the guide rails define exactly what you can build. You don't really need this number, but I see that people are uncomfortable with a 0. We have enough water. That's been said 100 times at this meeting. We have enough sewer. That's been said 100 times. No one is coming here to build 300 apartments. They are going to build apartments. They are going to build townhouses. They are going to build condominiums. Perhaps those will have commercial underneath. A marketing team will do an evaluation on whether you need apartments or condos or townhouses. So the idea that we're coming with 300 or 400 apartments is not correct. You need to make the tough decision. You need to put this thing to bed. We have 5 or 6 other things related to residential that we'd like to bring up, but we'd like to get this past this first. People have spoken about guide rails. The people here have said there's enough guide rails in that language. I have to push back on a couple people here, and it's unfortunate that it seems like I'm always pushing back on Jack. Jack said 3.5 acres, X amount of square feet, divided by 1,000 or 1,200, you could build, I can't remember what the number was. That is so far from the truth or incorrect that once you determine the full value of the square footage that you can use, you have to subtract parking, you have to subtract common areas, you have to subtract elevators, it goes on and on. So I don't know why we're trying to scare the public by saying 3.5 acres divided by 1,200 equals 500 units. Doesn't happen that way. Last meeting, people talked about taxes. The only way to reduce taxes is to bring developers in here. And Mr. Carroll identified the fact that we can't rely on one development team. We have to say that business is open in the village of Highland Falls. Business is open. So let's make it very attractive. I thought 0 was, even with all those guardrails, but let's make tough decisions and make it attractive for other developers.
Anyone else? Okay. Yes.
Hello, my name is Lila Fain. I'm a resident of the village. My husband and I were both in the military. He was in for 27 years, I was in for 10, and he retired from West Point. We decided to stay here. We didn't think we would, and our time here at West Point, surprisingly, was very wonderful, and we decided that we would make this our home. And we looked around and we thought maybe Cornwall would be our home, but then the more we thought about it, we loved being in this area, and we ended up settling in the village. But as we look around, we look at this and we think the same kind of thing. We've only lived in the village itself for 2 years now, and our hearts hurt for the fact that Main Street is dying. We walk around, we want to eat in town. It's hard to find places sometimes to be able to eat there. It's hard to find places that are open. We want to shop. We want to support our new home, and it's hard to do that. And so we urge and want to urge you as a board to move forward. We've lived in several places throughout. We've seen dying places, we've seen thriving places, and we've seen local areas that have moved fast and been able to develop and do different things. We've seen other places that have been chaotic and been very difficult to work in and to do things and that kind of thing. And so it's been a mixed bag of different things as we've been traveling internationally and throughout the United States. And so I think, although I'm not a local and I'm not somebody would be considered somebody who's got a lot of knowledge here in Highland Falls, I would say that as somebody who's been around and seen things, I can perhaps provide some advice and say, please stop the analysis paralysis. And please make a decision. Stop worrying about whether or not is this absolutely the perfect decision. It may not be, but that's okay, because that's the great thing about an amendment. That's the great thing about being able to come back and say, okay, maybe this number wasn't the perfect one. We can come back and we can fix it. Trust your experts, your planning board, your zoning board. That's why you have them. They've been doing this. The experts on your board have been consulting. That's why we pay them. Our taxes have been pouring into this process. So let's use that money and use that process. So please do that, and I urge you to please move forward on this process, and let's go forward so that this village can continue to do that. My husband and I really, really want to continue to invest in this village, but it's been really hard for us to do so as we see the stagnation continue. And so we've been talking about, is this really where we want to put our roots? Our daughter's going to graduate next year from high school. She's our second and final one. And we've kind of been thinking about, maybe we might want to uproot and go. It's pretty easy. Having been a military family, moving isn't such a big deal for us. But it was kind of nice to think that maybe we had found home. And it's been kind of confusing. It would be really great to see the action of this board and to see you guys kind of rally together. Please move forward. Please bring this together. I see a lot of really great potential. Grab it by the horns. Move forward. Make this a really great place, because it really could be special. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second? Second. Second by Pete. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay. Elise, our village attorney, could you, the next thing is just to go over the secret resolution?
All right, as has been explained in the past, before the board can move forward with the adoption of a local law, it must complete a seeker evaluation. The board created Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of seeker pursuant to the seeker regulations. And it determined that it should be, that the local law itself should be declared a negative declaration, meaning there's no significant impacts. Now, it's prepared a negative declaration after, again, preparing parts 1, 2, and 3 of these environmental assessment forms. It looks at 18 specific areas. But the point I'd like to make to the general public, and of course this has been on the website, is that based on the engineer's evaluation of water and sewer, there is capacity in water and sewer even at the zero density. So if there's capacity at zero density, there's capacity at 750, which is what's on the table tonight. The other important item to recognize, this is a zoning law. It affects the zoning. It does not permit the building of anything. Nothing will be built until an application is made to the building inspector. If it needs to be granted a special permit, it will absolutely go to the planning board. If it needs variances, it will go to the zoning board of appeals. The planning board very specifically, and to a lesser degree, although on an as-needed basis, the zoning board also employs consultants that do detailed seeker evaluation of impact to the environment. Under a full seeker analysis for a specific project, things will be looked at like generation of school children, impact on taxes, specific impact on water sewer, specific impact on neighborhoods, and clarification. So all of these 18 items that are circulated here in this negative declaration only applies to the law itself. Any project that hopes to go forward under this law must go to the planning board, and the planning board is well equipped to do a detailed seeker environmental analysis at that time. So I would ask that the board, if you have all reviewed the negative declaration, parts 1, 2, and 3 of the environmental assessment form, that you make a motion to declare this negative declaration, to issue a negative declaration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I just want to clear my motion, just for the record. I make the motion as outlined by the village attorney.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Reyes?
I have to vote no because I don't believe the long EAF has been filled out properly.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Giannaffrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Elise, just so I'm doing everything the way I'm supposed to, the next thing I read is the resolution introducing local law number 1.
Well, you would read the resolution of adoption. I know the board has gone over the local law many times in the past. The only thing that is different in this version of it is it's not 0 density, it is 750.
So I don't do this here.
You should have a resolution of adoption.
This one. So before the board members, you have,
No, that's not the resolution of adoption.
yeah, that's it.
Let's see. And then you have this. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Do I have a motion or discuss, do I have a motion? Pete?
Mayor Joe, I'd like to make a motion related to the local law amending the zoning law. That's section 1, paragraph 3, line 6. I make the motion to change the minimum lot area per dwelling unit from 750 to 625 per unit. I respectfully request a second from our fellow board members.
Have that, Heidi? I'll second it.
Discussion?
Discussion.
So I didn't quite understand. What, did we just go from 750 to 625?
Yes.
Well, there was a motion.
To change it, so it went from 0 to 750, now to 625.
We
And-
started at 2,500.
Okay, hang on.
Reason.
Oh, very surprised. Okay, and we don't have to go back to Orange County. You're bypassing that step altogether. Because the last law that was written that we passed through Orange County was 0, and that was what people were expecting to vote on tonight. And now we changed it to 750, that's on our table. I didn't know about that. And then now, Pete, you're saying, no, I want to change it to 625, and we can pass it just like that without going back to Orange County.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to call for an advice of council meeting
Sure.
now.
Yep. Yep, for the
Make a
minutes.
motion?
Yeah, motion. You need a second for
How
that?
much time do you think you're gonna need?
Well, I'm
Seconded by
gonna tell
Jim
you what I
DeSalvo.
think, and then you can make a decision.
We go into executive session on advice of council.
Did you call for a vote on that?
I have a first and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Jim, guys in favor going into executive? Yeah. For the record, may I have a motion to come out of executive session and come back into regular meeting? Motion by Jim Ramus, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Pete Carroll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we caught up?
I think Mr.
I know. Mr. Carroll?
Yes, I'd like to rescind my motion for the 625 at this time. I talked to the attorney, and we could always go back if we get a new, say, an outside developer. He came into town and he impressed us with his idea. We at that time could call another meeting and we could accommodate it in a different, smaller direction. But right now, in order to get this to go through and for all to see something happen, we should go with the 750.
Is that a motion?
Pete, discussion. Pete, I mean, it seems, right, that was a good explanation, I think, in there. But I think the more important thing is that if we do it this way and bypass the usual process, that we set ourselves up for litigation or a challenge. And I'm not sure, I think Ms. Olivia's question was very pertinent. If we're going to change the number, it has to go back to Orange County. Change the number. It only takes a few weeks. And do it right and do it legally. If we don't do it that way, I think we stand a chance of being challenged. The good thing is we now all agree, right? It's going to move forward. We all agree, everybody's for development. The public is here saying they want development. And I think that's what we're here for, to listen to what you have to say and to do what you want us to do. But we have to do it the right way instead of trying to do this because somebody is trying to get re-elected in March.
Oh my God.
Right? So do it the right way, do it legally, right? Change the number. Half of the people here thought it was going to be a 0.
Okay, go back to 0. 4 votes we had, go back to 0.
That's it, okay. All right, I have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
What is the motion?
The
He's
motion is to
rescinding.
adopt this local law at 750.
Okay, and who made that motion?
Mr. Carroll?
Okay.
I'll second the motion, but I still would like to have a conversation about this particular piece of legislation.
All right, I have a second. May I have roll call?
No, I want
Wait, you want
discussion.
discussion?
Oh, you want to do it now?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, just a couple quick things to address a few things. The square footage number has changed several times.
Yeah.
And I personally feel that that's why it's such an arbitrary number. It was started at 2,500, it hit 1,250, it hit 2,000. We actually talked about it during a couple work sessions, 1,750. I have notes going back 1,000 square foot. The numbers changed dramatically, okay? So many different ways, so many different numbers. Emails have gone out to board members, what's your number, what's your range, which is why I think it's an arbitrary number, my opinion. The reason why I, in the beginning, was looking at the square footage as a number, as a fail-safe, as a rail has been brought up, and then I changed my mind because we added 3 additional safeguards. What are the safeguards? Let's talk about them for just a second in the law, okay? Parking. We had folks who came to this 18-plus month process, so when I hear that no one knows what's been going on, this has been on the front burner, back burner, during the flood, front burner again. We've talked about it to nauseam. We've talked about it during board meetings, in emails, work sessions, in crossing. We talked about parking. We strengthened the parking rule. That wasn't there before. It wasn't there. It wasn't clear. It was arbitrary, like the number. So we cleared that up. We also cleared up the size of apartments that we'd like to see you have at the 0 square footage. Much like other communities. The town of Highlands, just down the road, to be one example. Cornwall, another example. Chester, another example. Folks that have already invented the wheel for this process. I felt like we didn't really need to. Which is why we came up with I called it a key, but a schedule of minimum required floor area per family square foot. 625 square feet livable area for an efficiency, 725 for livable floor area per one-bedroom dwelling, 900 square feet for a two-bedroom dwelling, and 1,200 square feet for a living area for 3 or more. And with that comes those parking caveats. 1 parking spot for the efficiency, 2 for the 2-bedroom, and so on. In addition to that, if you did get a big building and you said, hey, I want to put all efficiencies in there, bam, we said, nope, can't do that either. Only 25% can be the 625, because what are we worried about? What's the arbitrary number worried about? What are these other rails worried about? Density. We don't want to be over density. We don't want to be huge density. We don't want to have a big splash. We want to do something, though, for Main Street. So that's why I was in favor of the 0. That's why I voted for the 0. I will support the 750 to move this legislation on. I think we could probably go back to the 0 and be fine, since we did get an okay from Orange County. The only thing Orange County has stated, after 2 or 3 letters we've sent them for different square footage size, was we're good with it. It's a local determination, like they probably do 85% of the time. It's a local determination for a local zoning change. Just update your map. Make sure your map makes sense, which was brought up by planning board members. Just make the map make sense, because your zone change, after you make your zone change. So, is the zoning law perfect? They never are. That's why you can amend it, as was brought up by some folks here tonight. I think it's important that we move it through tonight. It's been bogged down way enough by, like some folks just mentioned and shouted out, election time. It's silly now. It's just become a little silly. Even sending another letter to Orange County Planning is going to be silly. I'm telling you. It'll be the 4th letter we send. They don't want it. Ready for this? They don't want another letter from us. I mean, they'll take it because that's the process, but they don't want another letter from us asking for a different square footage size, because it's silly, and we're beating this into nauseam. So I would, if we could bring it back to 0, I would do it. As mentioned to me, by me saying I wanted it at 0 meant that somehow I was getting a paycheck from AOG. So I didn't get a W-2 or a 1099. So, because I'm not getting any checks from AOG, so I do appreciate that. In fact, I don't think I've ever had really a one-on-one with Aaron. No disrespect, we just haven't. Because I'm a firm believer of the Field of Dreams process, which means we should be building the zoning and hopefully people come. If you try to gear it for AOG, or you try to gear it for an investor, you're really not doing it the proper way. You're gearing it towards one set of folks, and that's not really right. Which is again why I go back to 0. If the 0 doesn't work, we can amend it. If 15 buildings start going under construction on Main Street, we could slap a moratorium on. Easy, very easy. Quick vote for that. 30 days, nice. So again, I would firmly go back to the 0. If the 750's got to be what it is, I'd make a motion. I would support the 750, but I do not support sending it back for another letter. I do not support prolonging this process, this 18-plus month process of planning board members, residents, workshops, emails, talking with the county, the comments of some folks. Some of them are a little scary, and we're talking about, I've heard KJ brought up, and it's all over the place. So let's not be all over the place. Let's just stay focused. Let's stay focused on what we need to do. And, there's a happy medium when it comes to infrastructure in a community. We have more than 2,500 registered voters in the village, okay? And that was a question that came up. But if we added another 500 people, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the taxes go up. If another 5,000 people came, all right, then yeah. But 5,000 people are not coming overnight unless they're coming to a game or a hockey game or something. And they're not going to live here that quickly. So let's not make it too scary, okay? 15 buildings are not going up, 400 apartments are not going up, and 7,500 people are not moving in here tomorrow. So those are some of my comments. I actually have more, but I don't, we have 2 more public hearings and an agenda, and again, I don't know, the lawyer could probably tell me I'm crazy. I again would favor the 0 because of the other 3 fail-safes that we added that were not there. But if the 750 has to be, then I guess we can move forward to 750.
So, Mr. Mayor, just so everybody knows, I am like 98.5% comfortable with what's written here. I have a few problems, and that's why I must vote no. And only because I do land development for a living, and I see a few things that could present a potential problem. We've all had flooding in the past. I know that it was a concern because I attended a workshop down at Town Hall that talked about stormwater management. We didn't even think about that in here. And when we cover 80% of the lot, which is going to be allowed, here, we have the potential for more stormwater runoff. Now, nobody has to do no developer has to do anything with stormwater as long as you don't go over an acre of land. I.e., the old Fed building. That's only 9.99 acres. They have to do no stormwater management. That means it's going to go out into the street and into our stormwater sewer system. Maybe we need to look at that as well. Also, New York State is going to have electric parking space requirements. Aaron, I don't know if you know about that yet, but it's going to be another burden, unfortunately, on the developers because they're going to be required by New York State to put in electric parking spaces. So I feel for you. I know what you're saying. But, you know, I want to see this move forward. I just wish the number was a little different.
I have a motion, I have a second, may I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Okay, so the motion is for 750?
Yes,
Right, okay, all right. If the attorney, I'm gonna have to defer to the attorney, if she thinks bypassing the way we usually do this is legal, it's not gonna get us in trouble, then of course, I agree.
Next.
No, I stayed my case.
Okay.
Trustee Remus was a no. Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, local law passes, thank you so much. Okay. Whatever time it is, can I open up the next
Make a motion to open the next
public hearing, which is on
override.
tax levy?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Any public comment on the tax levy? Yes.
Michael Joyce, proud member of Island Falls. Last year, I believe, and correct me, we had this same motion where we went over the tax cap. And people on the board said, it's only in case. It's only in case. But every year, the tax for the schools goes up. Every year. And lo and behold, last year, we had a 5.6 increase on real estate. Now, is this in the same boat as last year where it's only a precaution and we're not going to increase revenue on burden taxpayers? Because the school taxes did go up quite a bit again. Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else? Okay. Yeah.
I would just urge the board to please not
use this tax cap, going over this tax cap if we don't have to. I really cannot afford it as the village in the condition that we're in right now. So precautionary or not, I think you need to do due diligence in keeping the taxes underneath the tax cap and not utilizing this thing here.
What problems do we have where we need to go beyond the tax cap? What are we looking at? Is there something,
Not to get into a back and forth, because I hate that.
I don't mean the back and forth,
No,
I
no,
just
no.
want to know what
but
reason
we have
that's
to.
all.
We have to pass this portion. New York State requires us to pass, have a public hearing, and pass that the ability that we may go over the tax cap. Okay, they dictate when the timeline. We haven't even started the budget process. In fact, the budget packets go out next couple weeks.
Okay.
So, first of all, it does not mean that we're automatically going to go over the tax cap.
I understand.
And this board understands, because we all, well, most of us all live here and pay taxes, and so we understand that we're gonna have to pay them too. So I know I am, and I'm sure the rest of the board is gonna make every effort to make sure that we stay within the tax cap.
Well, property owners are the ones who pay the tax.
Yes, yeah, and most of us.
Apartment dwellers don't pay tax.
Correct.
All right? So I own apartments, but I don't raise the rent on everybody because my tax bill goes up. I don't know what anybody else does, that's just me. With respect to school tax goes up every year. They keep it under the tax cap and they pump another $1 million onto the bill. And if you start adding that up, exponentially, the taxes go up. Cost $39,000 per student now, almost $40,000. Next year, it's gonna cost over $40,000 per student. Okay? So I would caution the board to do their due diligence before they look for a raise on the tax cap.
And that's not just school taxes. This board has been raising village taxes year after year after year. They try to keep it under 2%, but they do. We raise taxes every year. Every year.
The comment that we've been over the tax cap, other than last year, is false.
We raise taxes every year. Over the tax cap last year, but every year
It's the
we
first
raise
time
taxes on you.
since I've been on the board, we went over the tax cap last
We raise taxes
year.
on you every year, don't lie.
Because of the flood.
2%, let me speak. The 2% tax cap
You raise
has been in
taxes every year.
effect, given to us by
I know, Cuomo put it in.
Yeah.
for over 20 years.
I
I'm
know.
almost done.
Know all about that.
Over 20 years. Only, and I'm proud of this, only last year did we go over. The
Over
first
the
year.
tax cap.
The first year, and it was because of the
But they
storm.
raise taxes
Thank
on
you.
you every year.
I
Your
didn't say-
taxes go up every year. The village taxes has gone up every single year.
Melanie, please. School tax goes up every year,
That's right.
even if they stay underneath the cap.
That's
The village
exactly
tax
what
goes
I'm
up
saying.
every year, even if you stay
Sometimes
underneath the
That's
cap.
exactly what I'm
Nobody
saying.
here is stupid, everybody knows that.
That's
Our
exactly
taxes are
right.
gonna go up every year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just wanna limit the amount that they go up.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay,
no,
thank you,
that's
Ed.
true.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
That's my point. Correct.
Is there anyone else? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? And unanimously closed. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Okay, so now we have the, this local law, Elise, for what we just spoke about.
Yes. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, or you give the, I mean, we all know that. Go ahead.
Well, essentially, it's just a resolution adopting the local law that would allow the board to go over the tax cap if it needs to. So as trustee DeSalvo has said numerous times, this is pro forma, it happens every year in every village and town. And then it's up to the board when they go through their budget process to determine whether or not they need to go over the tax cap. In the absence of this local law, they are prevented from doing that. So it really hinders their budget, budgeting and evaluation. So that's a synopsis of it.
Thank you.
I thought we were doing the next public hearing, but
Well, you might as well just skip to 9 and adopt
Okay.
it.
So, just to add to that, well, we can take a motion in a second if you want, then we can have a discussion, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, it's not to belabor or attack or anything. You know, the town has historically voted to go over the tax cap, doesn't mean that they necessarily have every year. If we just got done paying our town and county taxes for 2025. Their fiscal year runs from January to December. And if you got a village tax bill, whether your escrow paid it through your mortgage or you got the bill at home, if you're a village resident, you paid 2.7% increase. I highly recommend you look at your bill. 2.7. Now, you can't go over 2% unless you pass this legislation. So if it's 2.2, you can't go over 2.2. Even if I've gotten rid of the DPW. So now when it snows, we deal with it. We've cut the budget, but we're still over 2%. I can't go above 2% unless I have this legislation on the books. It does not mean that we're going to do it. I hope we don't. But as we start the budget process and we have budget hearings and the board becomes familiar with the budget going forward for the next fiscal year and the public, that we're going to be open about it. It's not a closed door thing. We're all going to find out together. And we're going to do our damnedest to make sure we don't go over. But if we have to go to 2.7 like the town did, we might have to go to 2.7. I don't want to. And keep in mind, again, not a criticism. The year we had the flood, the January after the flood, which was in July, the town had a double-digit increase. Again, not a criticism. It's not a criticism. We didn't have the double-digit increase in our fiscal year that year. So it's not a criticism, it is what happened at the time. So I would ask that we try to be responsible, whether we're candidates or on the board. And as we go through the process, we're going to do the best job we possibly can to bring a responsible budget forward. That's my comment on it.
Okay, I have a comment on that. All right. So Ed, I think maybe I was misunderstood. That's exactly what I was saying. Every year, the village taxes go up. It is under the tax cap, except for last year. Just like the school taxes go up every single year, below 2%, but they go up. So the village board, once again, is trying to tell you that we're just passing this resolution to raise taxes above the tax cap as a precaution. They said that to you last year. And your taxes went up almost 6%. 5.6%, right? And no, it's not because of the flood. And before you really point at things at the town, clean your own backyard. Once again, the village borrowed $6 million for the flood. The town borrowed $20 million for the flood. Because what they did was borrow everything up front and get all their projects done. The village did not do that. We have a $36.5 million flood damage. We did not borrow $36.5 million. So our increase of 5.6% last year is a $6 million borrowing for the flood alone.
Right.
So I'm telling you, you're $17 million in debt. Your taxes did not go up because of the flood. They've said that in village board meetings many, many times. Many, many times. So for people who have been here, coming to the board meetings, you've heard them say that. We're not going to go over because of the flood. We're going over because of mismanagement. That's what it is, okay? So the budget officer, right, Mr. DeSalvo, his tactic is meant to just confuse you. He wants to confuse you. He wants to downplay the impact. But reality, it's really just poor financial management. There is a way to avoid raising your taxes. There really is. I told you that 3 years ago when I looked at the books and said, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. Your debt is going to double. You know, I was wrong. Your debt from 3 years ago went from $3 million to $17 million today. Not because of the flood, because of financial management. Okay, they create unnecessary things like high-paid positions for their friends, a superintendent. Why do you need a superintendent when you privatized your water and sewer plants? Not only did they create this position, They bought him a brand new truck that he's driving around. You know what we could have used that $75,000 for? New fire trucks. We need $1.5 million for 2 fire trucks that are really obsolete. There's only $600,000 in reserves for the fire trucks. But instead we buy this superintendent a brand new truck. That just does not make sense. So raising taxes, that's not the solution. Cutting reckless spending is. And this board just really needs to prioritize your needs over their friends and favors for their friends. And just mismanaging your money. That's what I have to say.
One or two corrections. First of all, the town authorized $20 million. They authorized $20 million. They did not spend or issue $20 million.
They did.
No, they did not. You're wrong. Okay? Number two, we authorized and issued $6 million, and that was the direct reason why we had an over the tax cap increase last year. I'm not going to belabor this with you, which you voted in favor of.
Yes.
In addition to that, the number of $17 million, once you subtract $6 million out, is 11, minus the water project in Ondera Park, which needed to be done, which was brought up by the last administration and authorized by the last administration, but not followed through on, that you voted in favor of. We issued those bonds, and we did that project. And we did the drainage in Ondera Park. And how's it going so far?
So far, so good.
Thank you very much. So when we're talking about the debt, you need to give the whole story. We are not up here all driving Cadillacs, okay?
So
We
thank
bought a
you
new
for-
truck, excuse me, I didn't talk when you talked,
okay,
please.
sorry.
We bought a new truck to replace 2 other vehicles in the DPW. In addition to that, we made that person part-time. We are now saving $20,000 in DPW, and we kept that individual's knowledge. We have 3 full-time people down there in DPW, and 4 part-time. 3 and 4. 4 part-timers, 3 full-timers, and they're doing a great job. And I kudos to them for the last 2 snowstorms. They were small, thank God. Hopefully we won't get a huge one. They did a great job. And the one truck is not his truck. It's the village resident's truck. It's the village of Highland Falls truck. So when John decides to retire, or leave, the truck stays here. He doesn't get it with a red bow. It doesn't go to his house and he stays there and he drives to Florida on vacation or whatever. It's a village vehicle. It'll stay here. Just like the one it replaced, which we got 13 years out of a Ford pickup. Should be a commercial for them. They should come down here and shoot a commercial on how far we get with the vehicles in this community. Please, 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 stop spreading nonsense.
No, it's not nonsense. What you're doing is you're confusing the people with all of these wonderful things that you've done.
Anyway,
Of
with
course
that, I'll
you
call
need
the question on the vote.
infrastructure, but infrastructure on that is not,
I'm
needs
calling
to
the
be
question on
done
the vote, please.
stepwise.
Where am
So
I?
that's
We're
the
voting
thing.
on the resolution.
He always gets to talk last and
Roll
then
call.
there's a vote.
Roll call vote.
Correct.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Yeah, and it will definitely, I expect everybody who doesn't want to see the tax cap go up, please come to the budget workshops. We want to hear.
Okay, go- keep going.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you so much.
So I believe, Mayor, the next public hearing is Section 8 housing.
Section 8. Is it, no, we're doing, what are we doing here? Number
Yeah, it's number 8,
10? Number 8?
public hearing, so you'll need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved to open the public hearing in regards to Section 8 housing.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any public comment on Section 8 voucher program?
I just have a question. I did pick up the PHA plan from the Village Hall when it was first stated in the newspaper that it was available, and the additional documents that went with that form were not available at the time. Are there any significant changes to this, or is it what it's been?
I think it's the same.
I think it's
Yeah, I
very
don't see any
routine.
changes.
It's a yearly occurrence.
Every
No,
year it's the
not much.
same.
Nothing, as far as what I looked over, nothing has changed.
Is this section 8 just for the village and town residents? Open to whoever wants to come in and apply for it?
And I know once we lose, the only thing I'll add is, I know once we lose a certificate, we don't ask for a new one to replace it.
Yeah, so I'll make this really quick. There used to be they call them certificates that go with an apartment. There used to be 97. I don't renew them if the person moves to Middletown. I don't take it back if they bettered themselves. I hope they do. That becomes for me, I call it a dead certificate. I give it back. We're down to 60, which I think is pretty good. And technically, we're actually down to 56 because 4 certificates are out of town. People are using them out of town. And I'd like to get those back. They give them back. So then they have the program. It's several years old where they come in and they help you, teach you how to do your finances, help you get a better job, and then you get off of Section 8. We have a lot of those that it's happened. 50%, this will be the last number I have, 50% of the people on Section 8 are elderly and handicapped. Exactly 50%.
I think it should be Highland Falls, isn't it? Highland Falls taxes going into paying for Section 8,
No.
or is that coming from the state?
It comes from the federal government.
HUD, actually.
Doesn't cost us. Okay. If there's nothing further, I'll close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
So-
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. There is a resolution here adopting Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Take a moment and read it. It's only two short paragraphs, and then we'll have roll call. When you're ready, make a motion.
Motion to adopt the Section 8 Housing Voucher Program.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes, and just a quick thing for the public to know, there's about 157 low-income housing in the village of Highland Falls. So that's about 13% of all households, which is in keeping with most municipalities. So yes.
Yay.
Trustee Ramus? Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Denafrio?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next. Whereas the next general village election offices will be held on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Whereas voting for the upcoming general election shall be conducted at the Senior Citizen Center, 15 Drew Avenue, from noon to 9 p.m. Therefore, be it resolved that the inspectors for the election shall be as follows: Olga Anderson, Suzanne Lewis, Tamika Graham, Mary Ojuro, O-J-U-R-O, and Diane Breezy. Be it further resolved that the rate of compensation for the inspectors shall be $225 for the day. May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Ramus?
Yay.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Denafrio?
Yes, motion carried. Resolution to adopt $650,000, amending a board resolution for water. We had taken it, we had 1.5 authorized, we only need 650. The 850 that's left on the 1.5 will be in the next motion, But it's, the first motion that I want you to consider is to adopt the $650,000 amending the bond resolution for water.
I have a question. I'm not quite understanding that. So we borrowed $2 million for the water fund last year, and you're amending that, moving $650,000 from that $2 million water BAN to go to where?
If I may, just to clarify, we did 1.5 just to recall, it was a total of 6, 1.5 in water, 1.5 in sewer, and 3 in general. So we're just reducing the water from 1.5 to 650, and then moving the 850 into general. There's just, as we've gone through the process, there's more work to be done in general when it comes to drainage and roadways and things of that items, which do not get covered in water or sewer. We've made significant amount of work done in the water plant and the sewer plant. There's still a few things to be done in the sewer plant and a couple of smaller items in the water plant. So, talking with the engineer, we feel that it's important to keep moving on some of the projects in the general fund, and so that'll help continue.
But that's
to do that.
not true, Jim, right? Okay?
I'm just
The
explaining.
water in the village is horrible. It's brown 1 week, it's super chlorinated the next week. The water plant has water filters, 4 of them, that are obsolete. Really, they're 70 years old, and they really have outlived their lifespan. That's why they keep pouring more chemicals in there, and sometimes it comes out smelling like Clorox when it comes out of the tap water. And when they don't put enough chemicals, it turns out brown, and there's also a lot of water leaks that are going on. So we need that $1.5 million to actually change those water filters. We can't be shuffling money around and borrowing money for one fund, not doing the work that we're supposed to be doing in the water plant, and then shuffling it for roads and improvements because the bills are coming in and we're not getting reimbursed by FEMA. So that's a problem to me. I think most people in the village would feel that their drinking water is more important.
I'm not gonna get into the weeds with you on this one. We have received a few $1 million back in payments from FEMA. According to my source in that office, they're going through some management changes. We'll see what happens. But I'm not here to debate that. We have to move forward on some projects.
Well, of course you're not
This
here
is
to
FEMA,
debate.
this is FEMA money, so I have to keep moving with some projects. I would highly recommend for you to vote no if you feel to do that.
Of course,
But I can't tell
yeah.
the folks on certain streets that we can't do drainage because you don't
Yeah,
like the way
well,
we're
no,
doing it.
no, you're shuffling money
So-
around. You make it appear as if there's a surplus
Again, if
in
there's
one
no
fund,
questions from any of
then
the board
there's
members, I'll
not.
call the question on the
You know,
resolution.
just like the village,
Like,
at the last
never
village
ending.
board meeting, I told you there's
We have
negative
a motion and a
balances and many.
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Can I ask a question?
No, all in favor?
Roll call,
Wait,
roll
wait,
call.
wait,
Do
wait.
roll call, Joe.
I don't have a motion. Okay.
Oh, that's what I asked.
Need a
Okay,
motion.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Just about a word salad.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Hey,
You said nay?
no, A, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
A. You said yes, okay, thank you. Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo? Mayor Janaka?
Before I vote, I want to recommend strongly to Mrs. Guerrero that she sit down with, any day that she wants, Monday through Sunday, sits down with the people that are running the water plant and go over her grievances. I strongly recommend that. My vote is yes. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, next we have a resolution to adopt $3,850,000 amending bond resolution for roads. So the $3 million we have, it's the $850,000 we just took from water, adding it to an area that we need extra money in roads and related improvements.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Yes.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Janaka?
Yes. Anyone in the public that wants to come, call ahead, make sure that we have it ready. If you want to see what the number 12 and number 13 are on the resolution, the one was for $650,000, taking $850 away. We actually had 1.5. And then the one we just did for roads and related improvements, if you want to see where that's going, I'll make you an itemized list. It's going to Mearns Avenue, it's going here, it's going there, whatever, wherever it's going. I can give that to you. Just call and I'll get it ready. It might take a day or two, but no more than that. And then you can come by and pick it up. Thank you. I would like authorization to sign the renewal agreement between the Village of Highland Falls and Joseph Mastriani, who handles, we don't do Section 8. Look, we used to do Section 8 in office. We had a person that we paid, and they did Section 8 when there was a lot of certificates, like I'm saying, 97. I've weaned it down now to, technically it's really 56. So this company who's been doing it for us, that's what they do. He represents, is there someone here from, there was someone here from Section 8. Yeah, she probably ran.
Nancy left after you voted.
Yeah, so, but this company does it. We don't pay them, the program pays them. So I'm just looking, it has to be signed every year. May I have approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. The town is going to have, this is very successful, they've been doing it for a few years now, e-waste collection, sponsored by the town of Highlands on the 26th of April. April 26th, at the parking lot across from Sacred Heart, 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. And it'd be a great time to dispose of electronics, especially electronics, computers, copying machines, all that stuff. So again, April 26th. They filled out the event form. Can we approve it?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Pete Carroll. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. The last thing on the agenda that I have is to reschedule the next village board workshop. It falls on President's Day, so if we could have it the following day, the 18th of February at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Second by Pete. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. I'm going to do a public comment, but if I look down on next, I have more, but it's late. Okay, I have a lot of good stuff. Public comment.
Board and Village, good evening, late night. I have two comments. One, as a committee member, so I'm putting my committee member hat on right now. So my name's Gary Laux, live at 48 Row Ave. I represent the Town of Highlands Disaster Fund Committee. So I'm sure we all remember July 9, 2023, bad flood. We set up a disaster fund to cover expenses incurred by residents as a result of that flood. The fund is still active. If you have some appliances or repairs that are lingering because of the flood, I encourage you to go ahead and submit the applications. They were located in two places, the Town of Highlands and the Village Library. I can convene the board, we can meet and discuss, we can authorize up to $400 of monies to cover something that could have happened in the flood. You might have had a refrigerator with food in it that's spoiled, or a repair that is now, you have a line that's all rusted and it's been a year and a half later and bam, that needs repaired. We can authorize up to $400. If you don't submit it, the answer is always no, so I encourage you, if you can, go ahead and submit. That's committee hat off, personal hat on. Ran into Mr. Ramus today while I was shoveling my driveway. I applaud the board, all the stuff that's happening on Burns, it's great, but I just have one question and one kind of would like to see happen. The people on Burns Ave have to be notified about when these guys, the workers, are coming through and digging up the road and putting in the sewer pipes, okay? There are people that live on road that have garages on Burns. I'm one of them. There's a couple of residents on, that was the same, at least three others. So I'm asking, whoever is in charge, whoever the contracting officer representative is to notify the residents, hey, this is when the crews are gonna come, your driveway's gonna be interdicted and torn up, you can't get your vehicle out, here's what you need to do. So I'm just asking that the board consider, whoever is supposed to be representing those people, let us know so we have a plan to adjust fire off of and make sure our vehicles are moved so we can.
Let me, I just want to tell you that, remember Justin?
I do, yeah.
Well, Justin left, and he was good, that was his.
That's
first
why I haven't
day.
seen him. Yeah, there you go.
And
Okay.
so the new guy will do this.
Robert.
Okay.
And right after I left you today, I was on the phone with the engineer, Ty, and he assured me that Robert will be knocking on doors 2 days prior
Okay.
to be anticipated.
Right.
Because some things change, you know what I mean?
I understand. We just need to know, so we have a plan.
And he also told me that there was flyers on every door, and I was like, that's not what I heard.
On Mern's, yeah, on Mern's property, yes, but those of us that don't have, that have the garages on Mern's, I never got one, so, whatever.
Anyway, I asked him a question.
Okay.
You asked me to ask him. So he showed me that, and I said, look, maybe we can get one again.
Perfect.
All right?
All right, thank you, Ward, appreciate it.
Yes. What was the other thing before the part?
The disaster fund committee stuff.
Oh, I want to say something to you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
3 months ago, we had a disaster preparedness meeting. All the people, I think, that should have been there were there. Kurt Hahn was there, and he's like the #1 guy. And there was a list of what the village would take care of, what we said we would take care of.
Okay.
And I thought I had it with me. I wanted to bring it out tonight. I will at the next meeting.
Okay.
80%, maybe more, has been taken care of.
Okay.
Things we were supposed to do.
Michael Joyce, member of Village of Highland Falls, a proud member. When I look at this amendment as to the water, I do have a question. And I'm sorry, you say direct my comments at the board,
Yeah, that's
but
what.
this is specific because Trustee Carroll is head of the water department. How many of those main filters that were discussed a year and a half ago that had to be replaced, how many were replaced or refurbished? And I believe each one of those filters cost upwards of 400 grand.
All right.
And they're like, correct me again, 50 to 70 years old? I'm not picking you out. You are in charge of the water department.
Yeah.
And it's a main item. I mean, they filter the water coming off the mountain. How many of those filters have been changed or refurbished?
I don't have the answer,
Well,
but.
give it to them next meeting. I just wanted to make sure that we know the question though, so you know to get them. Yeah.
I'll find out tomorrow for you.
Well, if you had the answer, it would lead to this question, okay? No, it's common sense. You don't put the cart before the horse.
That was a year and a half ago?
It was over, yeah, a year and a half ago, it was discussed about doing a bond to change out those filters.
I've only been a trustee.
I know, but his paperwork would be passed on. I mean, I don't wanna drop you in it, but it's a main part of the water treatment process.
The guy that I took the seat for, he didn't give me those papers.
He didn't give you major infrastructure work on the major filtration of our water system for Highland Falls?
The question that you
I
asked.
guess with the transfer of the management of the water plant and stuff. He didn't.
Okay, because my next follow-up question, and I hope this is negated, because all those filters, because I believe there was a bond, there was talk, we are gonna take care of it, it's a crucial thing to our water system, this is something we can do, we don't have to dig up pipes. You're not seriously, I mean, as a board, you're not seriously gonna divert water, excuse me. You're not seriously gonna divert monies from the water system until this crucial aspect of our water filtration system is rectified? I can't believe this. Our children, my children, your children drink this water.
What is the, if you, forgive me, what is
Oh,
the question?
The question is, if these, yeah.
Water filters you guys, give me a break.
No.
What's your question, Mike?
Okay, the question is, here we go again, I'll wait till you finish. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. question is, why are
It's like a
we,
TV program.
yes, I know. Why are we diverting money from the water system to another fund when we haven't rectified a major part of our filtration system for the drinking water of Highland Falls? I believe there's 4 of them, I could be wrong, it could be 6 major filters, and each one of them costs 400 grand. Now, there was talk back then that we might not be able to put in new ones, but we can refurbish at, I believe, 200 grand a pop. That's still, or 300, that's still a lot of money. So I would strongly suggest not to divert any money until that main system is working properly, and not something that's ad hoc, that's make do for 70, 50, 70 years. Please, think of the people. Think of the people that have, medical issues. I mean,
Yes, let me answer some of those questions. Yes, it should be a
Thank
priority
you.
because it is a problem. Okay, there are 4 filters in the water plant. This was discussed well before the flood. We had an inspection. They're 70+ years old. They've outlived their lifespan. They really don't work very well. Each filter is $400,000. And we also have backwash pumps, and we also have the filter control systems that need to be fixed. So we need money to fix all of that in order to provide you clean water. This board has 3 main things that they have to figure out for you as residents when you give us your money. It's really public safety, it's the water system, it's the sewer system. Those should be our priority.
Yes.
I think those comments are really frightening, to be honest. Is the water not also tested through the Department of Health?
Daily.
Every day.
I mean, we get.
Saturdays.
Have you
seen
the water in
Have you seen the
Yeah.
water?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what does it matter?
Water?
The test?
I have municipal water.
I'm sorry, the village.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
The same water.
I live in Fort Montgomery,
my
and
friend.
yes, I have.
Put a
Excuse me,
filter
I'm
on it.
speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I do have village water. I am not experiencing the brown. I am a property manager where people are experiencing those things. However, there is, infrastructure. I would think that your infrastructure should be your most important spending, really, because in order to get the filters, the pipes that go to the filters should be done properly and updated and upgraded over the years. Please don't scare people by making them think that their water is not equipped to be drank. That's really an injustice to this
You're afraid
community.
of the truth. Then
I'm
don't
sorry,
come.
but excuse me,
Yeah,
Ms.
no
Guerra.
excuse.
The
If
Department
you're
of
afraid of
Health
the truth, then
sends,
don't listen.
excuse me,
Don't be rude to
the
the
Department
residents.
of
That's all.
You do it.
The Department of
How
Health,
you've been doing it.
Yes.
the Department of Health is a pretty serious organization that does frown upon villages fabricating water, testing to their consumers. Are you kidding me? Are you mean to tell me that the Department of Health is allowing your substandard water to be put through pipes?
They come down all the time,
Is that what
unannounced.
you're saying? Because that's what you're saying, that's it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna piggyback on that, because it was a year and a half ago that I was, what was his name? Trustee Phillips was talking about how those things do need to be replaced. And it's a recommendation from the state for them to be replaced. So that's what we're talking about.
But you're still getting water reports.
That's
Tell
what,
you
so
that
the
your water
question,
is
so the question brought before the board was, how many filters need to be replaced? He specifically asked the water department guy.
Who's been on the board how long? Come on.
He doesn't know how many filters there are? Come on, lady.
I'm sorry, can you just state your name? for the-
My name is Pat Leahy.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
since VRI was awarded a contract, is there a quality control aspect of their contract? So you guys are testing water, as you said, at the plant. My children they can't take a bath because the water is brown. Regardless of what anybody tries to say about the health department, the water my daughter bathes in is brown. And if it's not brown, it does smell like bleach. Regardless of what a paper says, it's not okay to drink, it's not okay to cook with, it's not okay to take a bath with. You have village water. Your village, the village water is not okay. Why would you be moving funds from there to fix infrastructure? So you fix pipes to, you need to fix a pump to fix the pipes. You don't need to, but you should, because we're drinking what's coming from the pump.
I mean, I'll answer you, but wait till.
Anyone else?
The testing is done at the plant, correct? Is there also testing done at houses throughout the village?
Once a week, he changes up. He'll go to different houses and get a vial of water.
I would suggest to
Yeah.
see if you can go to Mike's house and check that water. That's just a thought. Because there's a lot of people talking about brown water, Clorox water, and a lot of other issues. So I think there needs to be additional testing at the houses. Because whatever test is being passed at the plant, and it's not one or two people, and it's not a certain group. There's a lot of people in the village that are talking about the brown water, which I also have an issue with, and it's smelling like Clorox. So it's just the thing. No one's yelling at anyone. It needs to be addressed.
Anyone else?
Remember you're saying not being disrespectful, you should have been disrespectful right there when you saw her.
My name is Sally
Okay,
Dorsch.
please put your hand up, right?
I also have something on disaster preparedness for our community. So on February 24th, I'm pairing up with the New York Citizen Preparedness Training. I'm going to read this really quick so it explains as to what we're going to be doing. So it's sign up for a free class to learn about preparing for emergencies. With severe weather events becoming more frequent and more extreme, it is important than ever for the New Yorkers that New Yorkers are prepared for disasters. The New York Citizen Preparedness Training Program teaches residents to have the tools and resources to prepare for any type of disaster, responding accordingly and recovering as quickly as possible to normal conditions. We all know what we went through the storm. Everyone's saying, why are we discussing the storm? Since that day, I have put in a lot of time for disaster preparedness to make sure that our community is safe. So on the 21st, right here in this room, we're going to be having this class. It's a free class. After the class, you also get a bag that has a whole bunch of supplies for your families. I just suggest that everybody go to this, and so that we can get educated as to how we can prepare for ourselves. I'll leave these in the back. Everybody have a wonderful night. Woo!
Anyone on the board have anything?
Can I make a public comment, please?
She's so more concerned for her water.
Yeah, water is life, it should be important. I just want to state for the board here that I was watching all weekend and the agenda for tonight's meeting never actually made it to the website. So if we can stay on top of things like that, I really do think that it's pretty evident through this meeting and any other one really that the communication between the board and the villagers really needs an uptick, so.
Sure, can I?
That's an opinion.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, because.
Just for point of clarification, so the agenda is on the agenda is on the website. It's under Documents, Agendas 2025. So I'm
So where
trying,
you list all of the other agendas on the first page,
it is not on the first page, it's under agendas in documents 2025. Because some of the comments that were made here was that we needed to streamline the information better, so that's what we're trying to do. So it's under documents, agendas 2025. Minutes are there, supplemental documents are there, the entire packet for the local law is there, everything is there.
so that's where everything will be moving forward then, not on the first page where it usually is?
Right, agendas will be under the agenda, unless the board advises me different.
Well, I say communication definitely does need improvement, because even if you look at this last week's newspaper, it states that the village board meetings will be held at Village Hall, and even states the address, and then you see the
Why
agendas
can't
and they're
I put
here.
the reporter rights?
I'm just saying,
I'm
that it
just saying,
doesn't
I know,
match, so.
There's a lot of things in the paper that aren't really.
Normally the meetings are there.
Okay, I'll take a motion to.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
I think Mr. Guerrero.
One more public comment, I just want to follow up on Elena's thing. Yeah, I went to the website, on the homepage, I couldn't find the agenda for tonight's meeting. But I also saw something there about the zoning meeting to be held February 3rd at Village Hall. You know, so, so it's a little confusing. If you put something on the front page saying where you can find the agenda, that would be nice.
Okay, and just a little bit on the side with that, notifying where the meeting is. It can be in the paper, saying the Village Hall.
I was looking at the website, not the paper.
But, and I wish they were there, I'd rather have them there, although this is much more room. But I gave the deadline of Friday, on Fridays, if someone who's handicapped wants the meeting to come here. So it could say the Village Hall, but if Friday before the Monday meeting, we get a call, we move it. Just, that may happen, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that happened this time, I don't know. I'm just letting you know. Okay, what are we doing?
So,
Go ahead.
just to reiterate, up on Murns Avenue, I was up there numerous times since they started that project, and I just want to give a quick update. So the south end, which is the far end, that's phase one. And obviously when we do drainage, they start down at that lower end and they're working their way back up. Phase one's done. They're working on phase two that you've seen today, and not complete yet, but as soon as that's done, then they're starting phase three where they started the saw cuts. Well, that was the beginning. They saw cut everything. Once they got that saw there, they're just gonna saw where they need to go, and then they can come back, and it's just easier than starting the saw up again to do excavation.
That would be perfect to put in a piece of paper and put on someone's door, so they know phase one is here, phase two, so I know on my address, I'm in phase three, or I'm in phase four, I'm in phase six.
It's a great question, and I will ask the engineer, because he has that phasing plan. And if you were actually, I don't know if you, did you come to that one meeting that they had here?
I was not here, no.
All right, so I think it was on one of the maps that they had, so the map's probably already done, but I'll make sure you get a copy, okay? Perfect. And then, I hate to beat the zoning one more time, but, you know, adaptive reuse is what smart growth is really about. And Ms. Guerrero, God bless her, bought 2 properties that she did adaptive reuse in this village. She didn't have to tear a building down.
I had 4. Yeah. Oh.
You did 2 beautiful buildings, Ms. Guerrero, where you did adaptive reuse.
Yes.
You have a business on the bottom and residential up top. And it worked. It worked. And you made a profit. God bless you. You know what I mean? So when everybody wants to say, I can only make money upstairs, I find that hard to believe. Anyway, that's all I got, sir.
Okay, thank you. Pete? You don't have that. Believe me. Jim?
God forbid you mention about our water.
Couple quick things. I'm getting there, Mike. Give me a
I'm
second.
saying from him, he's the water person.
I'm gonna give you a couple
Will you
things right now,
stop?
okay?
Will you stop doing that to him?
What do you mean from him?
That's a disgrace.
Aaron's in charge of our water that we drink.
I was gonna get to the
You're in
answers
charge of the water
tomorrow.
we drink. You're messing with your suitcase. My daughter is more important than your suitcase. Everybody's health is more important
Listen,
than
Mike, I told you I was gonna get the answers tomorrow.
It doesn't
Show
matter.
up.
He should know. He should know. The water is a concern.
Please.
It's been a concern.
All right,
You're so
please.
interested on Facebook comments, those are Facebook
Okay,
comments. They don't go on
Mike, come on, don't get in an argument. Let me answer some of your questions, okay? Please. First of all, the report that was done was about a year and a half ago, maybe 14 months ago, and it was from a company the board hired, it wasn't from the state. And they studied the aggregate in the filter. And while in the report, which I'm sure my colleague here will get a copy of tomorrow, it will show that while the aggregate is older, it was in good shape, and yes, we should put it in the plan to replace it over the next however many years. It was not $400,000 a section. It may have been. Let me get there, please. Just trying to give you some info. Might be a total cost of $400,000, not $400,000 each section. In addition to that, as Ms. Guerrero mentioned, that may have happened, or the filters may need to be replaced before we had the flood. Okay, so if that's true, then we can't use FEMA money to fix it. That's what this money is. It's FEMA money. Okay? Now, please call Village Hall, set up an appointment, we'll have the water department come to your house, test your water, see what's going on. Why is it brown? People do it all the time, they call, we send the people down there. I wanna know what your problem is, we wanna know what your problem is. If anybody has brown water, call. My son drinks the water here too, Mike, okay?
So you should have a problem.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. No, I drink it, he drinks it. I've had relatives who died 99 years old who drink it. So please, Mike, don't come around election time. Come all year. Don't come around election time.
I've been here, Jimmy.
Okay? Stop screaming and pointing. Stop screaming and stop cursing. Stop cursing and screaming. Stop cursing and screaming. Please, thank you.
You were on camera and you.
Motion to adjourn.
Boy toy, that's what you
Yes,
said.
Heidi, do that.
Have a motion to adjourn. Who seconded? Pete?
I second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed?